Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and thank you for tuning in to Canal Algérie's nightly news for this Wednesday, November the 15th. Coming up shortly. On the occasion of the 35th anniversary of the proclamation of the State of Palestine by Yasser Arafat in Algiers, we hark back to the many historical stops in which Algeria reaffirmed its stance with Palestine. Army General Chief of Staff of the People's National Army Said Chingriha pays a visit to the 72nd Unit of the Chinese Air Force on the fourth day of his visit to the Popular Republic of China. We track down the development of the horrifying situation in Gaza as bombings continue in separate zones, and the Zionist army raids a Shifa hospital. The full story in a bit. Welcome back. 35 years ago today, and in a highly symbolic gesture, the head of the PLO, or the Palestinian Liberation Organization, Yasser Arafat, proclaimed the State of Palestine from Algiers, a date commemorated this Wednesday amid the genocide taking place in Gaza and deadly attacks in the occupied West Bank. Algeria continues to support the fair Palestinian cause. It calls for the holding of an urgent UN General Assembly to grant Palestine full membership instead of an observer status. We get more from Ines Killo.
كلمتين فقط أن نتذكر في نفس القاعة وتحت نفس السقف وأعلن من طرف المجاهد المناضل الشهيد أبو عمار ياسر عرفات أعلن قيام الدولة الفلسطينية.
In a historic statement inspired by the verses of the famous Palestinian poet Mahmoud Darwish, the late leader Yasser Arafat proclaimed the creation of the State of Palestine to a packed house. The entire audience was hanging on his every word, impatiently awaiting the proclamation of the creation of the Palestinian state with Al-Quds as its capital.
وباسم الشعب العربي الفلسطيني.
In the name of the God and on behalf of all Arab Palestinian people, I proclaim the creation of the State of Palestine with its capital, Al-Quds al-Sharif.
القدس الشريف.
Applause and cheers erupted throughout the room, followed by the Palestinian national anthem performed by the National People's Army musical troupe.
أتذكر جيدا كيف أدمعت أعيننا.
That day we cried and we didn't know if it was tears of joy or sadness or nostalgia for Palestine.
والعودة إلى فلسطين.
والجزائر دائما صاحبة فضل كبير.
Algeria has always stood alongside the Palestinian people in their fight for independence. Its positions remain honorable and we are proud.
مشرفة ونعتز بها.
The decision to proclaim the creation of the State of Palestine was followed by many achievements, including the recognition of Palestine as a non-member observer state at the United Nations in 2012.
Even if the Palestinian cause has been betrayed on several occasions, Algeria remains faithful to its positions at a time when it's rather rare to remain constant in one's possession. And in the same room, history is being written once again. Here, the Palestinian brothers were reconciled during the conference for the unification of the Palestinian ranks, initiated by the President of the Republic.
اليوم يوم تاريخي رجعت المياه إلى مجاريها. شاكر لكل الحضور كل المسؤولين الفلسطينيين الحاضرين بكل فصائلهم أنهم لبوا رغبة الشعب الفلسطيني في غزة والضفة والقدس والشتات ولبوا كذلك رغبة الشعب الجزائري. هنيئا لنا.
برعاية وإشراف من السيد عبد المجيد تبون رئيس الجمهورية.
هذا الرئيس الذي له مواقف.
This president has constantly supported the Palestinian cause and has called for the Zionist entity to be judged by international courts. This is another step forward and an achievement for the Palestinian cause.
هاي خطوة أخرى بعتقد أنها في مسار النضال.
Algeria remains on the side of Palestine and continues to work to secure its permanent membership of the United Nations.
تجديد المطالبة بعقد جمعية عامة استثنائية لمنح دولة فلسطين العضوية الكاملة فيها.
Algeria's unfailing support for the Palestinian cause remains unwavering. The Palestinian people have always continued their struggle and have no intention of giving up despite the Zionist war machine.
During the fourth day of his visit to the Popular Republic of China, Army General Cai Ching-rihal, Chief of Staff of the People's National Army, visited the 72nd Unit of the Chinese Air Forces. Here's Mina Sakebash with more.
The Army General Chief of Staff of the People's National Army, Cai Ching-rihal, attended an aerial demonstration executed by the members of the 72nd Unit of the Aerial Chinese Army. Before meeting with the chiefs of the base and receiving detailed explanations on the aerial units' work, the training of the personnel and equipment, and the field of military aviation. Army General Ching-rihal then visited the headquarters of the Falcon Brigade of the Special Military Police Forces, where he followed, with the delegation accompanying him, a series of demonstrations and exercises of military personnel on the ground, which reflect the combat skills and good preparation of Chinese forces to face any possible threat.
La frappe. Le mitrailleur effectue le tir de repression sur les cibles avancées. Les pièces de radar rapportent rapidement la position de tir à frapper les cibles avancées. Commercial. 快速接近前方楼顶，队员利用高空软梯快速进入楼顶。Les membres sur le toit utilisent les escaliers. 前方进行时，恐怖分子驾车企图逃窜。Les terroristes restant au quartier résidentiel par les lance-grenades pour détruire le véhicule des. Recherche et de combat par l'unité d'opération spéciale est terminée. Veuillez.
At the end, the Army General Chief of Staff of the People's National Army signed the Golden Register of the Falcon Brigade of the Special Military Police before taking a souvenir picture with the members of the unit who performed the various demonstrations and exercises.
In the framework of his working visit to the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland, the Minister of Foreign Affairs and the National Community Abroad, Ahmed Attaf, took part in a consultative meeting on the Security Council. The meeting witnessed a high-level participation from Great Britain and African countries, members of the Security Council, in addition to African countries who will join the Security Council starting the upcoming 1st of January. On the occasion, the Foreign Minister delivered a speech where he shed light on the current international context in which Algeria is joining the Security Council, as well as the priorities that Algeria will focus on in its upcoming mandate, notably issues related to the Arab world and the African continent. We listen to our Foreign Minister.
This is the spirit in which Algeria is preparing itself to join the UN Security Council in about a month and a half from now, fully motivated to bring its fair share to the collective endeavor of preserving international peace and security. In the Arab region, the ongoing tragedy in the Palestinian occupied territories, particularly in the besieged Gaza Strip, has come as a horrific reminder of the urgent need to properly address the Palestinian issue in accordance with the two-state solution agreed on by the international community decades ago.
Upon his arrival to London, Attaf held bilateral consultations with the British Minister of State for Foreign Affairs, Lord Tariq Ahmed. These consultations are in preparation for the second session of the Algerian-British Strategic Dialogue. On the occasion, the two sides reviewed many aspects related to bilateral relations between both countries, in addition to regional and international issues of common interest, foremost of which is a serious development in the Palestinian cause. In the same context that the British Chatham House in London, the Foreign Minister delivered a lecture on the situation in the Sahel region, in which he highlighted the basic characteristics of the region and the political, economic and security challenges it faces. He also briefed the participants on the role played by Algeria in the neighboring space, especially with regard to mediation to end crises and conflicts, leading regional cooperation efforts in confronting cross-border threats, as well as financing and implementing development projects in neighboring countries through the Algerian Agency for International Cooperation for Solidarity and Development. And developing news on the situation in Gaza, and as we approach the 41st day since the beginning of the barbarism perpetrated by the Zionist entity's forces on Gaza Strip, the Zionist occupation continues its crimes against the Palestinian people. Places of worship are not spared. A mosque in Gaza was targeted in an attack that claimed 30 martyrs. And with this, the death toll exceeds an astonishing 11,000, expected to rise. This as the Zionist forces raid the Shifa Hospital, the largest medical complex in the Strip, sheltering thousands of displaced Palestinians, which now join the list of hospitals out of services in Gaza undergoing a genocide. As we mentioned, the Shifa Hospital was once again targeted by the Zionist war machinery. The health facility is sheltering no less than 2,000 civilians, which were ordered to leave the hospital already surrounded by soldiers. The back of the complex is now a massive grave following the electric shutdown, causing the death of hundreds, including premature babies. The latest tonight with Melissa Kebash.
Another telling evidence of the Zionist barbarism is its continuous attacks on the Shifa Hospital. Despite the numerous international calls launched to spare hospitals from these heinous and inhuman attacks. For the past 40 days, hospitals have been targeted by the Zionist colonizer, especially the largest one in the Gaza Strip, namely the Shifa Hospital, which has been sheltering thousands of civilians. The electric shutdown on the hospital caused the death of numerous Palestinian civilians, including 7 premature babies. The bodies were unfortunately buried in a mass grave. Dozens of Zionist soldiers ordered Palestinians taking refuge in the hospital to immediately surrender, and by this, moving the attacks in the hospital services. According to the UN, 2,300 civilians are surrounded by Zionist war machinery. As for those taking refuge in the south, they are faced with unbearable, inhuman conditions.
In commemoration of the day of the proclamation of the Palestinian state, the Speaker of the Council of the Nation delivered a conference in the Faculty of Political Sciences and International Relations, University of Algiers 3. Salih Goujil affirmed that Algeria adopted the Palestinian cause since the start and installed the diplomatic representation of Palestine on Algerian soil. We listen.
احنا القضية الفلسطينية في الماضي وفي الحاضر وفي المستقبل.
Algeria's position has always been unchanging with regard to the Palestinian cause, and we are proud of this constant position. Through our support for the Palestinian cause, we support all forms of resistance by oppressed peoples. French colonization has many similarities with the Zionist colonization of the land of Palestine. It is a form of colonization that aims to wipe out the autochthon population and replace it with settlers. The aim of French colonization was precisely to exterminate the Algerian people and replace it with a Christian European population.
On to the operational assessment of the People's National Army's activity in the past week. In the context of the fight against terrorism, detachments of the People's National Army arrested 12 support elements to terrorist groups during operations across the national territory. In the framework of the fight against organized crime and in continuation of the tireless efforts aimed at countering the scourge of drug trafficking in our country, combined detachments of the PNA intercepted in coordination with the different security services in operations across the military regions 93 drug traffickers and averted attempts to introduce 7 quintals and 44 kilograms of processed kief through the borders with Morocco, while 6,182 kilograms of cocaine in addition to over 214,000 psychotropic tablets were seized. In Tamrat, Borj Mukhtar, Ingizam and In Saleh detachments of the People's National Army arrested 125 individuals and seized 33 vehicles, 91 generators, 55 jackhammers and 244 quintals of mixture of stones and raw gold, in addition to quantities of explosives, detonation tools, and other equipment used in illegal gold mining operations. On the other hand, 38 other individuals were arrested and 26 hunting rifles, in addition to 37,266 liters of fuel, as well as 33.5 tons of foodstuffs intended for smuggling and speculation, and 30 quintals of tobacco and 20,950,000 of units of different beverages were seized during separate operations across the national territory. On the other hand, border guards sorted at the level of our national coast attempts at illegal immigration and rescued 214 individuals aboard traditionally made boats, while 326 illegal immigrants of different nationalities were arrested across the national territory. In the framework of defining mechanisms for joint action with different constitutional bodies, the Minister of Interior, Local Collectivities and Territory Planning, Brahim Merad, supervised the signing ceremony of an agreement with the National Observatory of Civil Society in order to allow the associative movement to fully access participative actions with central and local public authorities pursuant to the approach of President Tebboune. Brahim Merad affirmed that one of the main axes of joint actions include giving a greater transparency to associative work and to protect associations from suspicious sources of funding through training and continuous awareness. In other news, ending concretization of the national strategy related to the establishment of a real mechanic industry, the marketing of vehicles of the German brand Opel in Algeria kicked off on Wednesday. Entrepreneurship Day's activities continued today at the International Conferences Center. The event, organized by CREA, witnessed an interesting participation of project leaders from the national community established abroad. Mariam Damier Sindina Skillu.
During the second day, Algerian and foreign experts shared their knowledge of international ecosystem and their expertise in the field of entrepreneurship with their students, a networking effort that will be ensured thanks to a new informations platform to be launched by Diaspora Association to build bridges between Algerian skills here and abroad.
Today, the community living abroad is aware of the dynamic that has been set in motion by the country's authorities, and this community wants to play a full part in this dynamic. So what we want to do is to create links between our community living abroad and today's talents. We will be announcing a platform that will put Algerian project leaders in contact with Algerian communities abroad who will be able to exchange ideas via voice messages or even attend web conferences via this platform.
Porter un projet, c'est pas forcément évident parce qu'il faut comprendre le besoin qui est adressé.
Supporting a project is not easy because you have to understand the needs that are being addressed. For example, you might have an offer for a certain product, but ultimately no demand. So there is no point in hiring representatives or entrepreneurs in this type of project. On the other hand, when there is a lack of supply but a high level of demand, diaspora will position itself to support the various actors, identify the most relevant actors to address the problem and work on their business model.
A growing number of investors based abroad are expressing a keen interest in investing in Algeria. They are also keen to share their know-how in order to contribute to economic development.
How do you go about repatriating your knowledge and capital to Algeria? First of all, we open up the dialogue through days like this one, where we make an effort to identify projects with high added value, to support them, and secondly, to help them meet the right people with a view to raising funds.
We have researchers in major research centers. If we get 10% of all these researchers, Algeria will become a world economic power.
An attractive investment climate and a favorable entrepreneurial ecosystem are a must for the creation of a rich fabric of startups. Experts have pointed out that Algeria could be competitive in the field of applications using artificial intelligence, an area where entrepreneurs established abroad can contribute to their expertise for the benefit of local project holders.
The end. Thank you to our technicians and journalists, and thank you for watching. Take care.